Gruen. In the most hotly anticipated rebrand since 7:30 lost the report and Gruen lost the transfer. Nation, Sweat and Planet. Facebook has a new name.
I am proud to announce that starting today, our company is now Meta.
Meta. I thought it'd be better. What does Meta mean? Is it short for metadata, which Facebook has been stealing for years? Or a nod to the company's grubby origin story, as in, we'd never have Facebook if Mark Zuckerberg had met a girl in college? Meta means dead in Hebrew, but when I hear Meta, I think of this. Makes sense. Facebook is full of shit. So what is Meta? According to a pithy 77-minute launch ad that I made someone else watch on your behalf, it's a metaverse, a virtual reality to escape the actual reality Facebook already ruined. Once you put on a stylish VR headset, the metaverse will work like this.
There are going to be new ways of interacting with devices that are much more natural.
More natural than you? Impossible!
Instead of typing or tapping, you're going to be able to gesture with your hands, say a few words, or even just make things happen by thinking about them.
Oh, wow, let me try. Nah, he's still alive. The metaverse Zucker Nerd is spruiking has unlimited possibilities. You can visit a living room or an office. Wow, I wish places like that existed in real life. And most amazing of all, you can visit an unbelievable world where people are actually happy to see Mark Zuckerdork.
Boy.
Oh, hey, Mark. Hey, what's going on?
Hi, Mark. What's up, Mark?
This place is amazing.
Is it amazing? You're playing cards. Or you can look at a video of a dog.
You have to see this. Beast is going crazy.
Oh, I love that guy.
That guy must feel so loved. He got his wife a dog so she could feel loved. And they even found a way to make street art uncool.
3D street art? That's cool.
Send that link over so we can all look at it.
Weird they didn't go with my favourite street art. But there's one part of the Meta announcement that really pissed me off. Their logo, which looked like this. Yes, we've been through this before. That is not your logo. That's from Disney's Movies Anywhere. Oh, and these other brands. Not to mention this innovative media company, not sure what it's called, but I see its logo all the time. In Senate estimates. Time to welcome our panel, Russell Howcroft, Christina Aventis, Anita Gloucester and Todd Simpson. Right now, world leaders are meeting in Glasgow about that whole end of civilization thingy. And as the world heats up, so does the competition to sell the future. In this year's Super Bowl, essentially schoolies for advertising, big brands debuted big new ads for electric cars like this one.
Did you know that Norway sells way more electric cars per capita than the US? Norway. Well, I won't stand for it. Never mind.
So much for saving the globe. In Australia, pretty much the only thing that's close to net zero is the uptake of electric vehicles, which make up less than 2% of all car sales. And now, even our ads are telling us why we don't want one.
I know what you're thinking. Electric. It's not for you. You're probably right. Electric just doesn't have enough range. Everyone knows water and electricity don't mix. No more hanging out here either. Electric just can't keep up. So maybe an electric car isn't for you. Or is it?
And I love an ad that thinks it knows me.
I know what you're thinking.
Well, then I apologise for thinking that. I'm sure you're actually very nice. Christina, is taunting the customer the best way to make us do a Dylan and go electric?
Look, I think they're aiming for enlightenment here. They might have just got it a little bit wrong. Basically, he's a disbeliever and he gets this kind of visit from the ghost of electric future who is trying to show him the electric way. And this is a classic myth-busting approach where every objection is countered. They're trying to empathise with you but also prove you wrong all at once. It's got a touch of the gaslighting about it. And so is it effective? It does kind of make you feel like a little bit of an idiot, so it falls between a crack.
And the irony of an electric vehicle trying to gaslight, I think, is on the nose.
We know targeting mindset works, but I'm not certain they're clear on what that mindset is. Why can't we target that mindset? We have this really extreme bargain culture. So the price at this stage is still too high. And we know that when it comes to environment, and the wallet wins. Inevitably wins.
So it's not as simple as that, because, hang on, Australia has got a lot of distance to cover, and I'm nervous about whether that distance gets me to the next charging station.
Many electric car ads are selling a vague future with fine print admitting the models don't actually exist. Volvo prefers to guilt us about what's happening now.
So is this the ultimate safety test? Well, it depends. Whether you...
Climate change is the ultimate safety test. That's why we're changing to all electric.
While Hyundai asks us to think of the children.
Every little thing is worth it. Go all in. Power your world. Ioniq 5, all electric.
Hang on, did the car get her pregnant? Should have worn a muffler. Russell, is this a threat? Buy an electric car or the kid gets it?
Yes. I think the Volvo one's really interesting for me as well, Will. It's a beautiful commercial. It's beautifully made, wonderfully crafted. Is it a stretch? So Volvo's known for safety, and then all of a sudden the ultimate safety test is what? I suppose they're saying the safety of humanity. So does that actually stick with the consumer? Again, I'm not sure. And I think this is where the brands, the traditional brands, are really struggling to find the right message that enables them to play in the EV game and not just, again, be generic.
You know the worst thing about that Volvo ad is the actor kept fluffing his lines, so they had to start 11 avalanches.
I think this is also interesting in that kids have a lot of influence on car purchases as well. Something like 37% of purchases are influenced by kids. Of the 37% that are influencing purchase, overseas what we're seeing is more than 50% are steering their parents to EV.
But let's remember it was a 16-year-old girl that put climate change in front of the top of the agenda, right? So this strategy here is planting trees whose shade you'll never sit under.
Yeah, and I think we should thank that 16-year-old girl, Nikki Webster. We're with you. We appreciate the work that you have done. So thank you, Nikki.
You got the Volvo ad, which is saying everyone's going to die, and you got the Hyundai ad saying you and your family, your family's going to die. Which one is better? Well, I think now, over time, research has showed us that the individualized message is more powerful than the generalized message when it comes to the environment. And so bringing it down to the family and to the kids is a strategic way of triggering this sort of fear and guilt in parents to buy the car.
This week, Toyota announced their first electric vehicle, the BZ4X. Not to be confused with the iX, i4, EV6 GT, ID.3, EQA or MX-30. Side note, why do all electric vehicles have names like a secure password suggestion or Elon Musk's child? In 1897, the best-selling car in the US was an electric vehicle, often marketed at women. Now, electric car brands are powered by testosterone.
Hold on a minute. Did we hear that right? Dodge is making an electric car?
We're talking hypothetical, right?
You mean the Dodge that created the Hellcat Red Eye and the most powerful muscle car in the world? Why on God's green earth would Dodge ever build an electric car?
I'm saving the planet, but not in a girly way. For an electric car ad, that had a lot of emissions. Sunita, are blokes scared to buy electric?
So some people, when they think of the muscle car buyer, think of men with SPS, which is small package syndrome. So performance anxiety is probably a very real scare and concern. Now, the truth is, in 9 years, every car brand will be an electric car brand. So there's probably a ton of men and women, particularly in America, who are either loyal to or have built brands like Dodge on power and, you know, grunt and steel and performance and muscle, who are starting to go, oh, hang on a minute, how do we now build our purpose when there's performance anxiety?
No, I think they've done it. I mean, so they know their customer. Hyper, masculine, they're into performance. It's an ego purchase, not an ethical choice. If they had to choose between the environment and performance, they will choose performance. So don't let them choose. Don't make them choose.
No.
You work your positioning that this electric car becomes a want, you know, a really good car, rather than a need, which is to save the world. So they're trying to keep that masculinity of their car brand and wrap it and stick it around an electric vehicle.
But let's be practical. You cannot have a car called the 840 horsepower Demon or the Hellcat Red Eye and back it into a save the planet positioning.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these cars are renowned for being insatiably thirsty and inefficient, so much so that there is a part of the ozone layer that has a Dodge logo on it, and they're probably proud of it. I mean, I do think, like, we've got to understand that this kind of backflip for Dodge is tantamount to Tony Abbott, you know, teaming up with Greta Thunberg at a climate change conference. It makes absolutely no sense, and they own it. They absolutely own it. And so in its own way, it's kind of dumb smart, and they've done the job well.
The biggest player in the electric car world is Tesla, owned by the world's richest person and hitchhiker, Elon Musk. Tesla is more valuable than General Motors, Toyota, Ford, Honda, Volkswagen, BMW combined. So let's take a look at Tesla's latest ad. Yeah, there isn't one. Why? Because Tesla has never spent any money on traditional advertising. Todd, does every brand need a billionaire playboy?
I think it's useful to separate advertising from marketing, because he doesn't like advertising. He's publicly said he hates advertising and he doesn't do it, but there's no question. He could host this
show.
But there is no question that he is a very clever, smart marketer. Word of mouth is probably their biggest channel, and they do it really, really well. He, as an ambassador and an influencer, is huge. 62 million followers on Twitter. So to put that in context, the highest rating television show last year in Australia did just over 3 million. He has 62 million every day that he tweets. So he has a massive channel. And the other thing is product. If you want to sell a lot of product, create a better product. And he's doing that. He's putting all that money into innovation, into development, and the result is he is not selling electric cars anymore. He's selling a visionary brand that everyone now has bought into. It just happens to be electric.
But to be fair, Elon tweets, but Richard Branson wrote the book. He was the original billionaire playboy that gave great exposure by jumping out of planes and dressing up as female flight attendants. He was the original how to build a brand on stunts and marketing and PR.
So you can see what's going to happen now. Everyone's going to catch up, which will make it popularized, and Tesla will take an Apple approach, which is we never drop our prices. We keep them premium, and you'll pay for it because our brand is better and more interesting than all of these mainstream brands.
And then they'll have a different charger to everyone else.
Exactly.
If there's one thing rev heads love, it's revs. Dun dun. Oh shit, what did we hit? That presents something of a challenge to electric cars, which are notoriously silent. Audi has even created artificial noises, courtesy of these wildly German-looking sound designers.
Was macht so ein E-Sound aus? Ich möchte was mich anspricht, was angenehm klingt.
Personally, I would have gone with this.
I'm an electric car. I'm better than you.
Christina, which is better, selling silence or a signature sound?
I think even before you get to signature sound, we have to sort of, I guess, appreciate the value of sound for the driver as well. It has to be part of the product design. So the way people gauge speed on the road is through their sensors. They're less likely to look at the speedo and more likely to listen to the engine and the revs to understand what speed and if it's safe and if they have control. In fact, our brain is hardwired to filter out noise that isn't useful to it. So if your partner's chatting into the car, it's a primal instinct that's driving that. You're actually picking up on the cues in your car, getting feedback from the car, getting feedback from the engine, and that is what's gauging the speed and the control that you have. With electric vehicles, this is even further compromised. It's exacerbated because they're so silent. And what we found in testing is people actually underestimate the speed that they're going at, and so they overcompensate and go faster. It actually lulls you into a false sense of security. So in terms of sound design, there's an absolute need, even before you start branding it, in terms of the user experience of it and making it safe.
Yeah.
One strange thing we noticed is despite being cars of the future, EV ads are obsessed with the past. Jeep ads were looking back, while Mercedes went all the way from the beginning to the future. Pretty cool, but I think they might have left out one scene.
On July 8, 1940, the new Mercedes was delivered to Hitler's personal car pool in Berlin. Its service to the Third Reich had begun.
I wonder why. Now to anarchy in the UK, and an ad so controversial it dominated headlines for 2 weeks until it was yanked off air. This is an ad that has been accused of sexism, gender ideology, repackaging the patriarchy and glitter, and everything that's wrong with modern Britain. Meaning, presumably, the ad is to blame for everything from warm beer to Prince Andrew. Now, this I have to see. Well, I am outraged. Destruction like that should only ever be caused by a dog with a lightsaber. After receiving more than 300 complaints, John Lewis pulled the ad. Why? Because their insurance would not have covered deliberate damage. They said they will contact every customer who purchased the insurance to confirm they understood the ad. Well, good, because I didn't. Like, why would anyone leave out 2 bowls of the messiest substance on earth? And why was Mum reading 2 books at once? Hope they were parenting books. Surely John Lewis would have loved all of this. How do I put it? Drama. Sunita, was this all part of the wonderful plan?
Look, success in advertising is when your ads get talked about. So I hope the whole team at John Lewis are loud and proud about this ad, because the great upside is the conversation that they are normalising around gender identity. And this is what makes powerful advertising so fabulous. You know, I've got friends all over the world that have sent me messages saying they wish there was advertising like this on TV when they were growing up and coming out. Now, it's unfortunate that this ad was picked up on a technicality, which was the willful damage that the little boy Reggie does. But it gave a moral victory to the anti-LGBT protest that was going on in London.
It's great brand building stuff in the... There's a wonderful filmic history to it. They've attached themselves to something that I think we've seen before. And yes, there's a bit of a cultural overlay, but it's a type of advertising that, in particular in Britain, people fall in love with.
I mean, I love this, and when I saw it, I was like, I wish we could do advertising like that. And I think that I'm disappointed that the Conservative Britons sort of tore it down, and I wonder if they tried to do too much. And I wonder if they just focused on this boy being lost in the moment and were pure to that, whether the conversation could just remain on that rather than get distracted by these other things.
This whole notion of purpose advertising, or what has been rebranded as woke advertising or virtue signaling advertising, it's driven by two things. It's driven, firstly, internally, but there's also a demand for it, which means sales will come with it. There's a demand, and we can blame the millennials or Gen Z.
This is the ABC, so none of them are watching.
But we know from the research, right, that 70% of the millennials say, I want to be a part of a company that has a purpose, that is greater than just making money, and I want them to take a stand on important issues.
Well, I think that's right, Todd. I think if you go back a decade ago, part of a creative brief may well be, how does this advertising make news? And so you would deliberately write for news, because that was the beginning of Twitter creating the conversation and the beginning of the news cycle using Twitter to actually find content.
Yeah, but the catch here, though, Russell, is brands have signed up globally now to smash stereotypes with the United Nations.
We're going to smash stereotypes, but luckily they have John Lewis insurance, so that stereotypes can be replaced. John Lewis created a similar ad 6 years earlier. That version of the ad didn't receive a single complaint. Don't know why. But lately it seems a lot of boring brands are adding a touch of, how should I put it? Yes, glitter.
I know a girl who's vaxxed up. Who, doll? Me, doll. And me, doll.
You can't sit with us.
I'm here to show you how to smash out your rental application.
OK, Christina, is this genuine progress, or am I being too cynical to say that this is just them cashing in?
Well, look, it is... it's evaluated as something like a $4 trillion market. So there's absolutely profit there. And I think in some instances it's genuine when there's a long-term commitment and when there's skin in the game. We know that Absolute has been involved with gay Mardi Gras since the 1980s. They've been there for a long time. Last year, MasterCard had a great initiative, True Name. So for non-binary and trans people, you can have your preferred name on your card. Right? And that's action. None of the banks signed up to it. They put it out there. There was conversation around it, and then the bank signed up. Now, that stuff is genuine, but you can absolutely get it wrong. So Marks and Spencer had a gay sandwich for Pride Month. Basically, it was an LGBT sandwich. So lettuce, bacon, guac and tomato. They couldn't get the Q in there. Yeah. And that is opportunistic, right? And rightfully, it was shit-canned. You've got to make sure, like brands these days are glass boxes. If you're going to do something on the outside, make sure that you reflect what you're doing on the inside, whether it's policy, representation, you've got some skin in the game. That's absolutely critical.
I think it's really interesting, though, isn't it, Todd? It's tough. Like, just the practicalities of getting it right, I think, is incredibly difficult.
I know, but on some level, we are surrounded and swamped by advertising. It has more influence on us than our parents. It has more influence on us than schools.
Yeah, I mean, well, in my house, Dad was a farmer. He was out in the field a lot. I was watching a lot of ads. For me, it was really mum and dad, not mum and dad. Of course, this scary eroding of the social fabric is nothing new. In fact, I think it all began 22 years ago when Captain Crunch released this terrifyingly progressive campaign.
I love peanut butter crunch. If you love it so much, why don't you marry it? Maybe I will.
I now pronounce you man and cereal.
So, how do you like being married to the delicious peanut buttery part of this balanced breakfast?
I love it. Love it. I love it.
Peanut butter crunch, the peanut butter taste you love.
So why don't you marry it?
Well, I'm going to say something that's never been said on the ABC before, and I'm confident of that. Corey Bernardi was right. What's next? Russell elopes with a primo scramble? That is just about all the time we have for tonight. Please thank our panel, Russell, Christina, Sunita and Todd.